Yeah, we will come later back to the first term of Donald J. Trump. You were analyzing that that was made deindustrialization of United States, and it was made on purpose. Can you explain us why you think it's on purpose and how they done it?
Well, again, let's go back through American history. Why did we declare our independence? Yes, it was principles of freedom and basic human dignity, but fundamentally it was an economic question. What is the nature of empire? The nature of empire is it wants to keep nations backward so it can simply extract raw materials. And what was happening in the United States or in the colonies is the British Empire would not let us manufacture anything, sent the raw materials over to Britain, sent them back to the United States at exorbitant prices, and we were supposed to keep backward. We established a different kind of system where we fostered real, genuine economic growth, industrial development, modern technology, and so on. And that, if you have a nation that is flourishing in industry, science, and technology, where your population is productive, it's happy because it is producing, it has a better life, then it's very, very hard to control you. So knocking the legs out of any nation's economic independence is a fundamental goal of this imperial system. And here in the United States, the group called the Council on Foreign Relations, which was really founded directly by the British Empire back in 1922 as an outgrowth of the British Round Table and the Royal Institute of International Affairs. Their little sister in the United States was the Council on Foreign Relations. So if you want to know what British imperial interests are or intentions, it's always useful to keep your eye on institutions like that. They said in 1977 that in order to break the economic independence of the United States and other nations for that matter, quote, controlled disintegration of the U.S. economy, of the world economy, is a legitimate objective. In other words, they were prepared to shatter economic health in countries in order to reestablish their globalist agenda, again, where you have private financial forces sitting on top of the whole world and other economic forces, subjugating nations to their continued imperial agenda. So, and that deindustrialization, I lived through it. I mean, that's essentially my lifespan. From seeing, I'm in Detroit, Michigan, seeing a proud working and middle class city where in 1960 we had the highest per capita standard of living in the country because blue collar workers had decent wages and stable incomes. We went from that to being a hollowed out shell where the income of families in Detroit has been cut in half in the last 30 years. That's the result of deindustrialization.
That means that's how they transfer technology and also working forces from East, exactly from United States to for example, China. And that's how China was built.
Yeah. I mean, China was essentially a project of the globalists. That's not to say the Chinese Communist Party is not an institution in and of itself, that it has its own, although I think it's factionalized, it has its own interests and so on. But the game has always been build something up which can be used to undercut Western industrial powers, especially the United States. I think we all know Henry Kissinger played a key role in opening up U.S. relations with China. And again, some of these people really make no bones about who they're loyal to. Kissinger gave a speech in 1982 to this same Royal Institute of International Affairs that I mentioned earlier, where he said, when I was Secretary of State, I kept the British Foreign Office more closely informed than I did the President of the United States. So the U.S. policy toward China was not in the interests of the United States or its people. Policy toward China was ultimately in the interests of the globalists.
We can say also that Klaus Schwab, who established the World Economic Forum, was also pupil of Mr. Kissinger, and I know and I saw that Mr. Schwab has a big, we can say, admiring about China, and he see that China model is the best one. I saw and I read his book, Stakeholder Capitalism, where he explained everything in details, and also I had one show according to this topic.
Yeah. And it's interesting, if you look at when the World Economic Forum was founded, it was founded in 1972, shortly after the United States ended the Bretton Woods system, took the dollar off the gold reserve standard, because the World Economic Forum was essentially created to manage this transition into a globalist world without sovereign nations. And as you say, Kissinger played a role in that as well.